All right, welcome back to an episode of After Further Review. It's been a few weeks. We're just waiting for all the information to build up, all the juicy trades, free agent signings. There's a lot going around in the world of sports right now. Got my boy Kaylin with me from Going for Two. We're gonna try and cover as much as we can here in the next hour because, like I said, there's a lot going on here. How you doing, Kaylin?
I'm doing great, man. You are right. There has been a lot that's happened. We've had free agency. We've had in the NFL. We've had cuts in the NFL. We've had, obviously, I'm rocking my Devils gear. My Devils are, you know what? This is they're number 3 right now. They're bouncing between Carolina. We'll get into that a little bit later. And you know, my Celtics too, top of the leagues, right? So sports for me right now isn't too bad, right?
Oh, you're sitting nice. Yeah, other than the Red Sox, you're doing just fine. But
Hey, spring trading. Come on.
yeah, we kicked their ass the other day though.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're gonna jump into baseball, not the MLB. We're gonna talk about WBC, World Baseball Classic. It's a pretty hot topic right now for a whole bunch of different reasons.
Yeah.
For people that don't know, they do actually do, one of these tournaments for baseball, and because they hadn't done one since 2017, I believe, kind of forgot about it a little bit. It's kind of the way hockey's been, where there hasn't been a best on best tournament. I think this is about this 5th or 6th World Baseball Classic. The first one I've really, really got into because I really thought Canada had a chance this time to get out of the group stage. Unfortunately they didn't.
Yeah.
But they had the best showing they've had, really, out of all the tournaments they've been in so far. So a little disappointing, but, also disappointing that they got stuck in such a hard division. They draw U.S., they got Mexico, they got Colombia, even Great Britain. Good for them, good showing in their first as well. So it was a bit of a tough tournament for Canada, but it could have been better.
Well, you got a 19-year-old kid pitching. I mean, what are you gonna do?
That was so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, and the poor kid. I mean, it doesn't look defeated. All the power to him. It's amazing that he.
But he was.
Oh yeah.
That kid wanted to cry, man.
Yeah, but
he did.
I read a few articles from some guys who were in the leagues that were saying, when I was 19 years old, I was pitching AAA or whatever, AA or whatever, like not WBC. Like, this is a pretty big deal.
Well,
and you mentioned earlier that they haven't done it since 2017, and I've only recently again kind of fallen back in love with baseball. And I'll be completely transparent, because I've been so into every other sport. I completely forgot about the WBC. Like, I really did, up until about 4 or 5 days ago, and I went, holy shit, this is still a thing.
Yeah, and the thing about this cool is, you get to see everybody, like anybody that's a big star or anybody that's going to be a big star.
Mm-hmm.
They're in this, and good for Canada. Otto Lopez, shout out for him. He's Jay's player. That guy, I think batted 400 for us. He came through in clutch situations every time. When we needed a big win the other night against Colombia, he came through with a massive home run there. Ernie Witt, shout out to Ernie Witt, though, the skipper, the manager for Canada. He has managed Canada in every World Baseball Classic from the beginning, when no one from the MLB would even go to play for Canada, till now. We should have way more players on this roster that are Canadian, and it's so upsetting that Mike Soroka of the Braves had to get hurt last year, and he wasn't available because, if we would have had him and Paul Quantrill's son, it could have been great. But, Cal Quantrill, he ate shit. He didn't even get out of the first inning against Great Britain. And that was so disappointing because, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't even have started Cal Quantrill in that game. I would have started the 19-year-old against Great Britain and then start Cal Quantrill against the fucking States. This is a guy that had 15 wins last year in the American League for the Guardians. The Indians.
It is.
Right? Okay? He was a legit pitcher, but the thing is that pitchers take a while to warm up.
Yeah.
And to have a guy into a game so early, and he's clearly not ready. He couldn't hit the plate. This motherfucker had literally 5 walks the whole season in the first inning last year. He had 5 in the first inning against Great Britain for Canada. So very disappointing that we weren't able to rely on him. But I want to touch back on Ernie Witt. When the 19-year-old Mish Bratt was on the mound, and, this kid's clearly got good stuff, but he was nervous as fuck, and he couldn't hit the plate, and he was so afraid to throw a good pitch to these guys because he didn't want to get lit up. And in the process, he walked like 4 guys.
Yeah.
What did Ernie Witt do when he came out? He came out laughing. He came out, he was smiling, he was laughing, pat the guy on the back. You know, it's not a big deal. This isn't the end of it for you. You know, we thought, you know, you were gonna have a better time today, but you didn't. It's okay, kid. So I really appreciate Ernie Whitt for not, you know, being upset with him. If anything, that's why he didn't crumble, because, you know, the coach was so good on him, you know, when he had a bad start there.
You know, it reminds me of this one time I was out golfing with an old guy. You know, got paired up with somebody random when I showed up at the course, and I had a horrible day, and he wasn't having a very good day either. And we got about to like the 9th or 10th hole, and he just started laughing. Same thing you mentioned. He just started laughing. He said, "Man, I've been beating myself up for 2.5 hours. I just got to start having fun with it. And if I'm not laughing at myself, what am I doing out here, right?" And yeah, you just got to have some fun. I mean, and remember where you are, how old you are, that this is not going to be the only time we're going to see you on the stage here pitching for us. But, I mean, at the same token, I mean, I want to kind of say, you know, it's rather upsetting you mentioned Canada not doing as well as we expected them to do. And we know that there is a pipeline of baseball in Canada. There certainly is, and it's certainly come a long way. But how special would it have been on the backs of, you know, Canada soccer doing what they did to actually have shown up a little bit here, right? These are those would be two very niche sports. I know baseball is one of the power 4 sports, but it's still a niche sport, especially when you start talking about the WBC, right? But that would have been really
especially
fun.
with the rise of the Canadian athletes in baseball right now. And you know what, the fact that Freddie Freeman finally agreed to play for us, and then he gets hurt, of course. You know, it's just so disappointing. You get a guy here that batted .320 last year, 100 RBIs, 30 home runs. The guy is like, you know, just the pinnacle of consistency. Yeah. And he finally says, "I want to play with these guys." You know, we got Russell Martin on the bench. We got Larry Walker on the bench. These are our bench coaches. You know, these are the guys that built Canadian baseball. You know, Russell Martin and you know, Larry Walker.
Yeah.
And to, you know, see, you know, Freddie Freeman agree to play and then get hurt. It's just, that was such a blow to this team, because whether that guy performed or not, he was the leader. And, you know, the fact that we had, you know, literally an MVP, you know, candidate at first base for us was so huge. So it sucked that he got hurt, but, you know, we did well though. You know, all things considered, if it wasn't for those 2 shitty first innings, you know, against Mexico and the States, you know, it was the best showing we had. But, you know, we'll talk about injuries, you know, in a sense there with Freddie Freeman, right? Because we had a big injury today, you know, in the last games with Edwin Diaz, who, you know, is, you know, you love him. We love him. MLB, he's a good card. And, you know, he's a great fucking pitcher. He's a great closer. And now he's gone for season.
The entire, like, yeah, and we're just like talking about, I was about to say, you know, you're making fun of me before with the Jays beating the Red Sox here, and we're talking about baseball here in March. Like, is something really important here? This is something that's certainly important. Edwin Diaz. Now, that being said, I mean, the Mets have got deep pockets, and we know that they've spent money elsewhere. They'll probably be okay. They'll be able to.
Yeah, but closers are not. They don't come across good closers, man. They're a dime. They're not a dime a dozen. These are guys that you maybe have 2 or 3 really good closers in each league.
You're right.
And after that, it's all up in the air. Like, there's not many dominant closers, and there aren't guys that get paid as a dominant closer the way he just got paid, and now he's gone. And the Mets have had problems for years. They're finally good again, and then you just lose one of your centerpieces that you gave money to.
Well, like I say, it's a good thing that they put money into starting pitching and hitting, right? Because, I mean, this is what they can lean on. Listen, you're gonna have bumpy roads. The Dodgers are one of the few teams that can consistently put money into the free agency and into trades and stuff and picking up everybody. The Mets have started to do that too, but like, you got to have some bump in your road before you can get that championship. And I know the Mets have had the bump,
but not a $90 million bump of the road. So, you know, like when it comes down to it, though, that's what I was talking about. Pitchers, right? Pitchers are different than hitters, right? Like, a hitter could come in, he could take a couple batting sessions for a couple weeks, and he's ready to go. He may not come into his own for a month or 2, but you're not risking an injury really by him, you know, going out there and hitting. You're risking injuries by pitchers not ramping up in time to be ready for this, especially a guy that throws 100 on the gun. And when he's only expected to come out there for 1 inning or 2 innings max and throw it 100 the whole time, and this guy hasn't ramped up for it, you're damn right he's going to get hurt. You know, like, we take it for granted these days on what it is to throw 100 miles an hour. Okay, that's not nothing. Like, back in our day when we watched baseball in the 2000s and in the 90s, you'd be lucky if there was 1 or 2 guys in the fucking league that could hit 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Now everybody hits them 100 miles an hour. but it doesn't just happen. There are a lot of physical stresses on the body that go into throwing 100 miles an hour. And when you're not ramped up and you've been sitting there on the fucking beach all fucking off season and you just step in and then they ask you to go to a World Baseball Classic in 2 weeks and fucking throw 100 miles an hour, like, yeah, there are going to be injuries that are going to happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if another injury or a big injury does happen after this. And that's why I'm so proud of Vladdy, because Vladdy had a minor injury. He was committed to Dominican. And he, as soon as he had that minor injury with the Jays, instead of being like, I'm fine, I'm going, he pulled out immediately. And this would have been Vladdy's first World Baseball Classic. You don't think he goes there and plays summer ball in the Dominican. You don't think he wanted to fucking be there? He was committed to the Blue Jays. And I'm not saying not to go play for your country, but that leads me into my next topic in a second, is that he made the right decision to sit at home and be ready for the Jays season, because going and playing for Dominican when you're half injured, it's irresponsible, especially when you're relied upon as much as you are, the way Vladdy is.
Yeah, and it's
right?
and it's just unfortunate that it's the celebration that is what hurts Diaz, right? Like, it's not even an actual play; it's you celebrating how well you're doing is what actually gets you hurt. Now, you mentioned 100 mile an hour, man. Like, I don't know if you saw it or not, but Otani hit 102. Like,
102, yeah. I was going to talk about that. Otani, they just asked that on, Tim and Friends. Is he already? Can he be considered as the best baseball player of all time already? And it's like, well, obviously you can't, because it's only 2 seasons. But what he's doing, and what he does every time at the plate, and now he's hitting 102 on the gun.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And the argument they made too is like, oh, well, Babe Ruth is the last person. Well, Babe Ruth didn't pitch and hit at the same time. He did it after he got fat. After he got fat, he started hitting. So it's not like this guy's doing it both. He's playing for his country now. Speaking of that, Japan is through right now. They're in the quarterfinals. Japan's through to the semis. They play the winner of Mexico and Puerto Rico, which is, I hope it's Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico and Japan will be a sick matchup. But then Cuba is through as well, and they play the winner of USA and Venezuela. And Venezuela, they're undefeated. They're one of kind of the Cinderella of the tournament right now. But let's talk about the fact, okay? The thing that pisses me off about this fucking tournament, okay?
Lay it on me, Rick.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, did you know that there's a guy named Lars Nootbaar playing for Japan?
Lars Nootbaar. That name sounds so familiar.
He plays for St. Louis.
Okay.
He's a major leaguer, and he's white.
Okay.
Okay. This guy is not Japanese. Okay. Yes. What's that? German. Yeah, but he's born in America.
So how does that happen? How does he get it?
So I'm going to quote what I saw on Tim and Friends by a guy that tweeted it. He's like, World Baseball Classic, is this about playing for your country or playing for where your grandma got laid?
Oh, God. Yeah, well.
Because this is a farce, really, to me.
Is he just chasing the championship? Is that your thing he's doing right now?
Well, you're not good enough to make Team USA, so you go play for Japan, where you have, like, descent from your ancestors to play. Half these people playing for these teams are people that are not good enough to make where they're actually from, so they have this exception to play for another country. To me, that is bullshit, because the World Baseball Classic should be like the Olympics. It should be like the World Championship of Hockey. It should be like the World Cup. You should have to be born there to play for them, or at least a citizen of that country. And the fact that we have everyone's like, oh, it's so great, we got 20 teams in the World Baseball Classic. Bullshit. The only reason we have 20 teams in this classic is because half the people on those teams are not from that country. Wow. So to me, that is totally defeating the purpose of a World Baseball Classic. Marcus Stroman played for the States the last time. This time he decided he was going to play for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, pick a lane, man. Like, it's like you can't, like, oh, we won with that. Oh, I didn't win with them that time, so I'm going to go switch countries. That's fucking bullshit. Yeah. When Brett Hull did that, when he didn't make Team Canada, and he's like, well, I'm going to go play for the fucking States now. And the motherfuckers won that year in 1996.
And he's repped America ever since, hasn't he? Ever since.
Yeah, he's laughing at us because, you didn't pick me, and then I beat your ass. Yeah. So to me, it kind of defeats what this is all about. And if you're going to be sending guys, to play in this tournament from a GM perspective, okay, that you are paying a guy millions of dollars to play, and he's not even playing for the country he's born in. So how important is this really to them? You know, when you say, I want to go play in the Olympics, like when Ovechkin said, I don't care no matter what, I'm playing for Russia in the Olympics. I don't care. That's because he's from Russia and he worships the country. These guys never even been to the motherfucking countries they're playing for. Yeah. So to me,
except maybe, the week before to meet up for the plane ride over, right?
Yeah, it's like, can I get an Ancestry.com test here so I can find out what country I can play for this year? Like, that's what it feels like to me, and that's kind of embarrassing. But, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, I still enjoy the baseball. It is still some good baseball. And I do like the way they put in restrictions for pitchers in the preliminary rounds, just so that you don't have a guy going 100 pitches, you know, stuff like that. But right now, at this point in time, you know, I'm rooting for Japan. I'd love to see Ohtani just run the table with this thing right now. I don't want U.S. to win. I don't mind Puerto Rico, but, you know, when it comes down, I would like to see Japan take it down.
Yeah, I am a big fan of Ohtani, and I think at this point I wouldn't mind seeing that guy go all the way. It's just going to do nothing but build his resume further, which I think at the end of time, you know, when his career is all said and done, I think that we will be saying that he is the greatest baseball player of all time, especially because the rules got bent for him now here. Like the Ohtani rule for him to be able to hit after he's even done pitching, and then the permanent DH and everything as well. Like this was specifically invented for a player like him. So
yeah, you know, but it's only a matter of time before he gets hurt because the guy can only do this for so long. So, you know, hopefully he has a good 5-6 year stretch where he can do it because eventually it's going to catch up.
So here's the thing: let's say he has a 6 or a 7 year stretch of dominant pitching because that's realistic. I mean, in reality, that is what a realistic situation scenario for him is. But he's still an amazing hitter and an amazing defender. So even when he can't pitch, he's still going to have another 6 to 10 years potentially as a hitter or a defender, right? Like I just think there's so much longevity that's built into that guy.
And, there is, and he's Japanese. And Oriental people seem to fucking be so durable all the time. Like they never get hurt. So you know what I mean. When it comes down to like Suzuki, you know, Ichiro Suzuki played for like 28 years, and the guy never got hurt. So. You know, like these guys really seem to have a longevity. Like even when Matt, what's his name, Matsui, when he came, he was already like 32 years old. Like, and the guy still played for like 10 years. So like they have that longevity.
I didn't even know that.
When he came to the Yankees, he was like 31, man, like 32 years old. Like, he had already played like 10 years.
Wow.
So. But talk quickly though, because we got to segue into Mike Trout then, because we're talking about Ohtani. Let's talk about Mike Trout, because what Mike Trout's doing right now at the World Baseball Classic, what he did to Canada, he looks healthy. The guy looks like a machine. And if they don't make the fucking playoffs this year with Ohtani and Trout again, it is a travesty to baseball. It's a travesty to baseball fans, and it's a travesty to them because these are two of the best people of our generation. And they can't make the fucking playoffs. And Mike Trout looks so good. And Tim Anderson, I read a quote Tim Anderson said, because he's like, I've never been around Mike Trout. I never understand, you know, how, like, you know, I hear how good he is. You see his numbers. But when you actually are around him and you watch him practice and you watch the way he talks and the way he analyzes the game, it is second to none. I understand why this guy is so good. Mm-hmm. And he is so good. This guy is incredible. I've watched him play multiple times even. And the way he's looking already in this World Baseball Classic and the way Ohtani's looking and the way the new playoff rules are where you can get in easier, like there's no reason that this team shouldn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? And we want to see it. I want to see them make the playoffs.
It was absolutely shocking that they didn't make the playoffs last year. 2 years ago, they had excuses. There were some injuries that kind of hit their team. But last year, there was no excuses. It was just absolutely
Mike Trout's made the playoffs 2 times in his career.
Yeah. It just they couldn't get out of their own division last year, right? That was the biggest problem for them.
So I'm really hoping that they do. You know, I'm hoping to see some good games with the Jays. I'll talk quickly about the Jays. What I'm seeing so far, I really love. Bo Bichette looks like he's ready to roll. I really expect big things. Big things from Big Bo Bichette this year. Alek Manoah, he's already looking great. He's experimenting with new pitches already.
Is he looking smaller, or is that just me?
What's that?
Is he
looking he's lost some weight. He's lost some weight for sure. But that's all because he's taking things more seriously. This guy is a true professional. Every time I hear him talk, unless he's flipping Jarrett Cole the bird, this guy pretty much has the most composure I've ever seen already. And people forget the guy's like 22 years old. You know, like this guy is not old at all. He already looks like a veteran. He's working on new pitches. We have the best pitching coach in the league, so we don't have to worry about that. And then we signed Don Mattingly as our bench coach. Don Mattingly is like a 7-time Gold Glover at first base. And Vladdy's already a Gold Glover. He's only going to get better. From what I've seen early, Kevin Kiermaier looks really good. And I was very skeptic and I was accusing that acquisition because I wasn't sure. I thought maybe he was past his prime, but I think maybe it was just injuries the last couple of years. He looks really fast. He looks great in the field. So I'm really liking that pickup so far. Eric Swanson, what I've seen from him so far, he looks really good. The stadium looks good. Just expecting really big things from the Jays this year.
Well, I mean, I should hope that there's a better season this year than it was last year for the Red Sox. But outside of getting beyond the Red Sox, the division, including the Orioles this season, I have liked what I've seen so far from the Orioles this preseason. I think that they're a team that can also, if they start stacking wins, they're a team I think
they're not the bottom dweller that they were the last 2 years. That's for damn sure. And Cedric Mullins looks amazing. He's starting in center field for the States right now, and he's killing it.
I just think that they're going to be a snowball team where if they start putting some wins together, that they can certainly really come out on top.
Well, it's no easy game, and the AL East just got even tougher. Once again, there's 5 good. Like the Red Sox right now, I would argue are maybe the worst team in the division right now. But that's not saying they're not even a good team still. Like all 5 of these teams can all compete, especially with the new playoff rules the way they are. It's all about not getting too far back early. You can't do that in this division. You get back too early in this division, you're screwed. You can't, because the Yankees are going to be a powerhouse no matter what. So.
I still, Rick, I don't know if I had the chance, if we've even talked since the whole off-season free agency and everything in the MLB, but you will never ever convince me that there was a reason that you let Xander Bogaerts walk and that you then sign Rafael Devers 2 weeks later. I just don't understand why you don't keep these 2 guys that are best friends. You didn't keep them together.
Oh, that's because Xander Bogaerts is playing for Netherlands, so you don't have to worry about that.
It's just so upsetting. It's just we let Mookie go, we let Xander go, and then we keep the 31-year-old Rafael, which I love. I don't want to make – I'm sounding facetious when I say that, the 31-year-old Rafael. I love him, but these guys were best friends. There was no reason not to keep them together in a very challenging division as it is already. You've only made it harder for us, right? Now, that being said, they are 10-5 in the preseason. Preseason doesn't mean anything, but I have liked what I've seen out of the Red Sox.
It's all about what you like. It's all about an eye test in the preseason. It's not about numbers. It's not about winning. It's about watching a guy swing, watching the way he's comfortable in his position. Like I said, like Alec Manoah said, he's like, I'm not trying to put out a 0 in preseason. I'm experimenting with pitches. I'm trying to get comfortable in certain situations. I'm trying to throw a backdoor or try to throw a front door slider on an 0-2 count, to try and get a strike that they're not expecting. Like I'm doing things that I know I can't do in a regular season game. Yeah. So, as long as you're happy with what you're seeing, positional wise, personnel wise, and coach wise in preseason, that's really all that matters, when it comes down to it. So, like I said, that division is going to be so tight. It's going to be great baseball. Like it's been a long time since all 5 of these teams have been good. So I'm super excited about it. It's gonna be a really fun season.
It's my most least looked forward to year, I think, as a Red Sox fan in quite some time. And we've had
you've had enough fucking wins, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So let's move along. Let's jump into some NHL talk because we're right down the final stretch here of the season. Since we've talked, we haven't got a chance to talk about any of the big acquisitions, except for the ones that happened prior to the trade deadline, and how they're affecting their current teams, and where certain teams are sitting, and how the playoffs are going to play out here. So, I'll just jump into the biggest one, obviously, and it's obviously fresh to you. Is Patrick Kane to New York? We knew it was going to happen, but it did happen. And everybody is so fucking retarded. Like after two games, they're like, "Oh, should they demote Patrick Kane from the first power play? It's not working out. I don't think it looks good." This and that. It's like, give me a break. The guy played for the same team for 15 years. Of course, it's going to take a couple games, man. But now he is fitting in just beautifully. And it's looking really good. Tarasenko's looking good. That top 6, I'd argue, is the best in the NHL. But obviously minus some defensive back checking, but. When it comes down to it, that's a scary top 6 with a really good goaltender.
Okay.
So the Rangers are looking good.
So that's where obviously they're my most hated team in the league. They're my Indianapolis Colts of the NFL.
That's why I left with them.
I love that you led with them. I love that you pumped their tires, but they're still 5-4-1 in the last 10. This is still a team that, as you mentioned, does not know how to play defense. They don't. Period. They don't. They have a goalie. Shesterkin was very good last year. He is okay this year. he has
He's not
not
okay.
been.
He's better than okay.
He
He's
has
not as
not
good
been
as he
this.
was last
He
year,
has
but
not.
he's
He has
better
not
than
been the
okay.
same player that he was last year. And specifically in the last month, there have been some games where I've gone, holy shit, this is not a playoff caliber team in any way, shape, or form. That Patrick Kane, that was prior to the Patrick Kane acquisition. I also still look at Patrick Kane as a player. I love my analytics. You know that. This guy has fallen off of a fucking cliff analytically, and the analytics seem to matter the most when it comes playoff time. And that's what I'm worried about. Is you got a team here who are still all very young. They don't all have a whole lot of playoff experience themselves, and they're all going to be looking to Patrick Kane for the leadership. And this guy doesn't play fucking defense to save his life. And you've mentioned that,
But
right?
he's never played defense, and
He's
when it
never.
comes down to it, you haven't seen him in the playoffs in 3 years either. You know, it's not like this guy can't turn up to another notch in the playoffs. I believe he can, and it's not like it's not. He's not going to be the same Patrick Kane he was. It's not, but he still looks damn good on the power play, and he is still someone for them to look up in that room.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he is still American. So you know what. When it comes down to it, there's not a lot of good American leaders out there. But you know, I'm not saying you know who they would play first round if it's playoff started today, right? So
Yeah, it would be the Devils.
It would be the Devils.
Yeah.
Which you know, some people have a problem with the format. We talked about it in the past. You know, in this case, I really don't have a problem with it. I would love to see the Devils and the Rangers go out at first round. I really would, because I believe whoever does win that series is coming out of that series with a hell of a lot of confidence. Because you know. Love them or hate them. These are two really, really good teams right now. You know, yes, the Rangers do have some problems on defense, but when it comes down to it, that's a scary, scary team to play for fucking 7 games, and so are the Devils. You know, and we'll get to the Devils in a second, but Shesterkin, I do believe there's another level for him there as well. But you know, all I say is we haven't played NHL yet with the Rangers together. Let's do that first, and then you can make your judgment call, because I'm telling you, it is a fun time when you play with the Rangers right now. But Devils, let's get to the Devils. Devils look great, too. They keep persevering. They keep winning games where I think they're going to lose. Even when they do get down, they seem to battle back. Jack Hughes, we've talked about it already. The guy's definitely arrived. I'm really curious to see what he does in the playoffs. But I haven't watched a lot of games since you got Timo Meier. So how is he fitting in? Like, have you seen how that's working at all?
There's been some penalty concerns, but overall, I mean, he's got some assists. He's got a couple of goals. I mean, things have looked good with him in there. The PP1 has certainly not gelled. That has got to come together a little bit better. But and then his line, he's been stuck between. He's been on Nico's line a couple of times, but mainly he's been on Jack's line, and they've been alternating out who their winger is. They put back Bratt on that line, which I think is the better scenario. That way, you got 2 playmakers in Bratt and Hughes, and you got a guy who just wants to finish over there in Timo Meier. He's somebody who's laying the body. We've already seen 5 or 6 really good, I'm talking bone-rattling hits out of that guy over the last few games, which has been amazing.
Which is a part of his game I didn't even really know was a part of his game. You know, like,
yeah, he's like
I don't watch a lot of San Jose Sharks games, right? Like, I don't. Yeah. So when you see Timo Meier and you see how big of a people want to acquire him, and how big of a prized possession he was going to be.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't understand why, because I haven't seen enough from this guy. Like, I've seen his stats, they're pretty good, but like, for him to be so touted for, now I understand maybe there's more to his game than just what you see on the stats. If he is laying the body and he is getting physical, I think that's something the Devils desperately needed when I watch them play.
Yeah, I mean,
you need grit.
That's right. The person that used to do that was Miles Wood. He's completely stopped doing that since he lost his teeth. Now, that's what it's nice to have somebody like Timo Meier, like I said, to do that for us. Now, we're still second in the league in goal differential. You mentioned a team that perseveres. We are leading the league in come from behind wins. I don't care if you pick October, December, end of January. I can give you all 3 options there, where we have the most points against playoff teams in the NHL. So this is a team that comes from behind, that is leading the league. They have 21 come from behind victories. So almost half of their wins are come from behind wins. And then they're leading the league in points against playoff teams. I'm not like, this is a team that I feel is just built for the playoffs. And they weren't until they got Timo, because I think that's some body there. Lazar only joined the team last night. He had to work on getting his visa, so he unfortunately wasn't able to really get with the team. But I think that he brings some grit too. My only worry in the playoffs was what was the bodies, what was the checking situation and the rundown, the wear down of that going to be like. But now with Timo there, I think that things are going to be a little bit better. My worry though, Vitek Vanacek has been all over the place for the last month, man. Like,
that's what I was just going to bring up. That's what I was just going to bring up, right? Is that, like, when it comes down, we can talk about all we want about scorers and players and stuff, but we all know when it comes playoff time that if you don't have a goaltender, really nothing matters. You can get by. Like the Blackhawks, talking about Kane, that is one team that was so lucky to win cups with subpar goaltenders. Okay, like, they played good when they needed to,
Yeah.
like Anthony Niemi, Corey Crawford. I think they even had one with Nikolai Khabibulin when he was like 80. So, when it comes down to it, like, they were one of the exceptions that were able to win. But when it comes down to it, we know that goaltending matters. And Vitek Vanacek, he has been good, but seems like he has been a bit shaky, recently. So it's not good. You don't want to be shaky going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, like 2 games ago, he looked great. Yesterday, or not, sorry, 2 games ago, he looked great. The last game that they played, he was a little bit shaky. But like, Schmid has not played too poor, and we still have Mackenzie Blackwood, who is going to be coming off the LTIR here at some point. I don't know if he's even going to be actually our goaltender.
I'm not a big fan of him at all. But.
Yeah, but when he does play as well, like he's rested now. Maybe there's an opportunity there for him to kind of show some things. But that's my worry. Is Vitek is lately for some reason has not been playing to his top form, and we're
he's probably tired. He's never used to playing this many games, right? This is not a full-time goaltender. He's probably getting tired, and like they say, use these last 20 games to rest. If you got to play your backup a few times here, do it, because when it comes down to it, you're making the playoffs either way. It's not worth burning your goaltender out. I think that's even what Toronto's done recently when they didn't play Samsonov. They let Matt Murray play fucking 3 out of 4 games, is because you got a guy that's leading your way, and then you got a guy that could still fill the net, and you got a good team. There's no point in burning your goalie out right now.
But the problem is that we got a team. We're 2 points behind Carolina, and Carolina has also.
And you just tied them. That's the first time you guys were tied with them in how many months the other day when you guys finally got on tied for the first division?
Yeah, that was the game that Vitek played great in. But that's a team that has had a significant loss, a significant player on injury that's gone for them now, and they've also sputtered. They're 6-4 in the last 10. We're so close to taking that, and as you mentioned, like, who wants to play the Rangers first round? This is the only time I'm ever going to say anything good about them, guys. Who wants to play the Rangers first round? Nobody. So if I can avoid that and play the fucking Islanders or play the Pittsburgh, I'll take that opportunity, right? If you can.
And yeah, if that's what I mean. If it has to play your backup goalie and it so happens that you don't play the Rangers first round, then yeah, it's probably good. But either way, it's going to be a great. You guys will play the Rangers. I can almost guarantee that. Whether it's first or the second round, don't fucking matter.
Last time that they played,
and it's going to be a hell of a series. Either way, it's great to see the Devils looking good again. It's been a long time since you could even speak well about the Devils. So I'm happy for you, in a sense. Like, it's kind of the way I felt a couple years ago when the Habs were good and they went to the Cup, stuff like that. Obviously, you guys got a way brighter future right now. The Habs were they totally overachieved at that time, but it's nice to see them playing well. It's weird for me because growing up, the Western Conference was so much better than the Eastern Conference all the time, and the script is totally flipped now. The Eastern Conference is so stacked right now, and the West, has a couple good teams as far as I'm concerned. So it's going to be a hell of a playoff push for the East. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Well, I mean, the East, yeah, you're right, is stacked. I mean, if I had to pick a team out of the West, of course, Vegas is going to be there because Jonathan Quick is on his revenge tour. As it
well, I was going to talk about that too. That was one of the next things I was going to talk about when I got to the West. But yeah, definitely.
And then the only other team, there's something about this Minnesota team to me that just,
me too.
I don't know what it is. I feel like they can just make a push, and it's not really because we talk about goaltending, right? I think that Fleury, when it comes playoff time, there's another level for that guy. And
but you can't even say him because this Philip Gustafson guy's been in lights out. So like at this point, I don't know who's even going to start there. But what I do know is I would have loved to see Marc-Andre Fleury kick Jordan Binnington's ass last night.
I'm rather frustrated.
Separating it.
I'm really annoyed and frustrated that the NHL has just completely disallowed any goalie fighting anymore. Like, there have been some opportunities where it has arisen in the last few years, and each time they have just said no. I think Binnington might have been the last goalie type scrap that might have even happened.
Well, you know what the thing about that is the reason why they don't do it is because nowadays you got to have a helmet on to fight. So to me, that's fucking ridiculous because, when you watch these, it's like, oh, keep your helmet on. Then you have these guys, even Jen mentioned it to me. She's like, I understand how these guys go all out and punch a helmet. You're
Tom
so
Wilson's
worried about
the other day.
Yeah, you're so worried about someone hurting their head. Well, you know what? If you're so incompetent that you can't fight on your skates and you're worried about falling down and hitting your head, then you shouldn't be fighting in the first place. What about these guys that have to punch a fucking helmet and break their hand? Yeah. It's so fucking stupid. So, to me, one of the most exciting things we've ever had in NHL history is a goalie fight.
Yeah.
And you have two guys that are willing to go at it. Binnington's a fucking asshole. Like, I never would have thought when this little Cinderella man went to the fucking Cup and won the 3-4 years ago when he was just, the poster child, who would ever thought he could become such an asshole?
Yeah.
And ruffle so many feathers, right? I would have loved to see Marc-Andre Fleury. Marc-Andre Fleury is not a violent guy. To see him fucking want to throw down, that was fucking nice.
He only seems to do it when they're losing or he's having a bad game. And you know, it's odd when I read the threads of the people commenting about it who are Blues fans. None of those Blues fans have a problem with him doing it because it seems that the team does seem to turn around, or even if they're losing. You know, like last night they were not having a good game, but they still didn't stop fighting. It seems that every time he does these stupid things, the team still takes it up another level. Now, getting back to the fighting, because I know you're gonna lead into a conversation here in a minute about this, but I did want to touch base with the conversation we're going to do.
We're going to fight a bit. I still want to talk about a couple teams first. So
yeah. But I want to focus on fighting here in the NHL, and my issue with it here is, the off chance that something bad could happen with falling down, hitting your head on the ice, how many fights over the last 40 years, 50 years have happened in hockey?
Have ended that way.
And I'm just talking in NHL, have ended that way. That's right.
Yep.
Now, we have all been forewarned about what potentially could happen. These are all adults. You join the NHL when you're 18 years of age or older. You make the decision to fight if you want to. You know what you're getting into. This is not, I'm a drunk 3 a.m. guy after the bar that's fighting somebody and I could fall and hit my head on the concrete. You are two sober men that decide to tilly. Okay, this is. I got an argument with somebody about this today because they said, if you want to watch fighting, go watch UFC. But this is my exact argument. If your argument to me is that I should go watch other guys kick each other in the head and punch each other in the head, and somehow that's healthier than watching some guys fight on the ice that usually end up in a hugging match at the end of a 20-second bout, then I'm sorry, you're wrong. Okay, those two. There's no way that the one is better than the other one. I'm sorry. Again, I got to come back to it. How few times it has ever happened in professional hockey. And
it was in minor. It was in the minors.
Well, the QH, that's the thing that's happened.
No, but it was not. No, it was in the AHL where a guy fell back and hit his head and he fucking had an aneurysm and he died.
In AHL, you were still an adult. You are an 18-year-old or older player because if you have to be out of college 100%. To be AHL, right? 100%. You are still an adult. You got 40-year-old men that play in the AHL still. So this is, again, you made a decision as an adult to do this, but this has been many years now where we've been warned about what could happen, and you still decide to make the decision to do that. And we know there's a reason why you do that. We know that brings your team some sort of spark, right?
And it's not just that though, Kaylin. It's not just a spark. When it comes down to it, this is the only sport in the world where a goon can just take a run at your valued player and hurt him. There's really no other sport. Yeah, football, it can happen if he has the ball, but then it's legit. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's no other sport where if a guy that on the fourth line wants to take a run at Connor McDavid and fucking run him into the boards, he can if he wants to.
Yeah.
But if there's no repercussions for those actions, then we will have people like Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid and, the biggest players in the league getting people taking a run at them. When Gretzky played, he had Dave Semenko and he had Marty McSorley. And nobody fucking took a run at Gretzky because of that. There has to be accountability, okay, for people making shitty plays, whether it's a knee on knee, whether it's a blindside hit, whether it's an elbow, you have to pay the piper. Okay, and when it comes down to it, this is a thing that's been involved in this league for 100 years.
That's what I was saying in my argument today. I was like, listen, this thing has been around forever. You don't just suddenly take it out. It's part of the game.
No, and you know what? They have phased it out. It's not the way it used to be. It's not like we got Bob Probert and Ty Domi, like it was before, where you have guys in your team that are there just to fight.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the fucking Broad Street Bullies in Philly? Half their team didn't even know how to skate.
Yeah. Because
they were there just to kick ass, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with people just going out there to hurt people. No, not at all. But I do agree with having a guy that is like a Ryan Reeves, that is a multi-talented person that, yeah, I could put the puck in the net, but if you fuck with my best guy, I'm going to knock your ass out. And then look what happened the other night when that guy tried to fight Ryan Reeves. What a pussy. And he from Arizona.
Did you say Ryan Reeves can put the puck in the net? I can't. When was the last time I know he scored this year, but how many goals that guy actually got?
Well, the one playoffs he had with the Rangers, he had like 10 goals that playoffs, something like that. Either way, he's not just there because he can fight. The guy does have hands. He's not like he's not a George Laraque. Okay, he's not a Donald Brashear. The guy can actually play. I'm just saying that, like, when it comes down to it, there has to be accountability for that because, they got the guy from Arizona the other night. He wanted to challenge Ryan Reeves, and Ryan Reeves sat there, waited for him. It's like you said with UFC. If you're the champ, you want to fucking challenge me, you got to come at me, man. I'm not going at you. you fucking drop the gloves first, and then you got a guy dancing around like an idiot. But when it comes down to it, it's like, you need fighting in hockey. You need it. You really do. Like, you don't need it in a sense where it needs to happen every fucking 2 seconds, and whatnot. But you do need someone that's going to stand up for players. And, it is for the fans as well. But for me, it is to have people held accountable for their actions.
Well,
and,
I think it really is. It comes down to this, yes, actions, but I still think that it's the spark that it brings your team.
Well, and it does provide the spark. It's a combination of both. But we got to talk about the QMJ, Quebec Minor Hockey League. They're saying they're going to ban fighting. So they've been calling for this in minor hockey for a long time in juniors. Now, in a sense, I do agree with this, because these guys aren't getting paid a lot of money. They're kids, and they really shouldn't have to throw down when there's not as much on the line as it would be in the NHL. But the problem is with that is then you change the game completely, and now then the other OHL do it, WHL do it, and before you know it, you'll have no enforcers coming up, and you might as well just go play in Finland, or in Russia where nobody hits. It's just like it's such a touchy subject in the game, but you can't take it out. You just can't.
Well, I mean, we obviously have been very spoiled to have a pretty good London team here for some times. We'll see some good teams that have come through, and we've seen some good fighters that have come through. Prust was one of them. That was able to see him scrap from time to time. Josh Beaulieu, an old name from high school, was a good scrapper back in the day. But this is also, what is the OHL known for? Lots of goal scoring, no goaltending.
Lots of fight.
Well, yeah. and they got some lots.
I used to go back to the ice house when I was a kid. There'd be like 30 fights a fucking game back then.
Yeah. Now the OHL may be the only league, I think. Like if I'm looking ECHL, not ECHL, or WHL or the Q there, they're not really a fighting known league. Like they're not really. They're more of a finesse type of league.
Well, it's just because somebody got hurt in the Q last night fighting.
Yeah.
That's why it's all being sparked now, right? That's all it takes is for one bad thing to happen.
Like they're not. I feel like hockey, like they're. Even though I'm sitting here 2 minutes ago talking about hockey isn't great in this sport, I do think that there are pockets where fighting, it just doesn't happen very often. So people just kind of forget about it, and it's easy for them to get rid of it. And the Q was a league, I feel that it is easy for them to get rid of it. The OHL, I think it would be a little bit harder for them to get rid of it because you got a bunch of knuckleheads that are, high schoolers that just want to scrap each other here in Ontario for some reason.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. But the thing is, thinking totally outside the box, and not as a hockey fan that I am, that loves fighting. It is pretty ridiculous. Shaq said it the best one time, because, Shaq's on the Epson printer commercial where he loves hockey, right? And he's actually talked about it. He said, can you tell me one other time where it's okay to go up to somebody, drop the gloves, and punch them in the face as hard as you can and not get in trouble for it? There is no other time in the world, sport or on the street, where you can go up to somebody. Imagine in a bar, you got to fight with somebody, like, let's go, boom. You fucking smash them 6 times and get them on the ground, and all you get is fucking 5 minutes for fighting? Okay? So there is another aspect of it. There is no other place in the world other than a hockey rink where you can just say, you know what, motherfucker, let's go. We're throwing down, and I'm going to smash your face in, and I'm getting 5 minutes, and I'm going to be smiling about it.
Yeah, there's no assault charge. I mean, unless you go too far, of course. I mean, there's a line that gets drawn there, right? But there's no assault charges that happen after the rink, even in beer leagues.
That's
right?
what I mean. You
Yeah.
could punch a guy and knock him out and end his career, pretty much, because it has happened, and have no repercussions for it. So there are some aspects I see, but from now on, if John Terry was still here and he was on Coach's Corner, and this was happening right now, he would die live on the air, talking about fighting, not being allowed in hockey. So. Yeah. Keep fighting in hockey for now, until someone dies, we'll keep going. If he dies, he dies. I do want to talk a couple other things in hockey real quick. We got to talk about the Bruins, because they've just continued to, chug along. They did have a loss against the Red Wings, but, they're almost pulling a Tampa Bay in a sense that, they're able to put...
They lost to the Blackhawks the next game.
They did. Yeah, they did lose to the Blackhawks as well. Well, they got the record.
Decimated Blackhawks team at that, right?
But they did also lose Taylor Hall, and they lost somebody else as well. They were able to add Orlov and Bertuzzi at the deadline. Yeah. So to me, it's just a team that's got stronger again. I think, I don't know if we see it. We've talked since Allmark scored a goal as well. But, talking about goalie fights, goalie goals, they've just done it all this year. So Toronto, obviously, they got to get past Tampa Bay first, but it's going to be I a hell of a series if they do play
No, I know
Bruins,
Tampa
so.
Bay just beat New Jersey the other day, and they're winning right now 1-0. We got to play them 3 times this week. Who the hell did that to us,
I
right?
feel like they're burnt out though.
But I do think that Tampa is burnt out. Like, they've kind of hit a wall here too. This is, oh man, I hate saying this, but like the Maple Leafs are gonna get out of the first round. It's gonna happen, and I fucking hate saying it. But if that happens, I mean,
Well, it's just such a shame they get Ryan O'Reilly. The guy has a hat trick. They has 5-point night with that line, and then he gets a shot block in the hand. He's out to the playoffs. So
yeah.
it just feels like the Leafs. I disagree with you. I do think the Leafs are going to win this year against Tampa Bay. But I don't.
Oh, you
There's
don't think they're
weird to
gonna
go.
win?
I do think they're going to win.
Oh no, I do. I think they're gonna get out of the first round. That's something
Oh, you do? I thought you
Yeah.
said they were going to lose. So I
No,
do agree with you. I think they're going to get out this round, but then they'll probably get swept by Boston. So,
Jeez. Wouldn't that
but
be
Mitch
something?
Marner, you just got to give him a shout out. Another London night there. Without Mitch Marner, this team would be in big trouble this year. What he does every time, just watching, whether he scores or assists or not, it doesn't really matter. He's
Or on
absolutely
the penalty
incredible.
kill, like the guys like
Yeah,
the best
penalty kill now.
killer
Austin
in the league,
Matthews
and
has had a down year. He's looking better lately.
well, you saw what that was, right?
Yeah, he said he got a hand
He had
injury
a
or
hand
something
injury,
like
and it
that.
wasn't until the All-Star break that it finally came around, and you can see that.
Yeah,
Like,
well, that
the
doesn't
whip is in
explain
his-
why you doesn't look like it doesn't explain why you haven't looked like you could skate the last fucking first half of the season. So I don't understand what's going on there.
Well,
But
whipping the
I
stick
do
is
like
bad.
the moves they made. I for Leafs fans out there, I really hope they do get out of the first round this year. But Jonathan Quick, you touched on him, another guy, a big name that went. Never thought I'd see Jonathan Quick in another uniform. But he seems rejuvenated. I think he's like 4-0 since he went to Vegas or something like that.
With a shutout.
Yeah, with 4-0 with a shutout. Those are the kind of guys that put you over the top there. Like with a team like Vegas, if you have a goalie like him and he gets hot, who knows, right? Like that. Like I said, that's a weak Western Conference. Edmonton, what McDavid's doing every night is just absolutely absurd. We already know that. But he seems like he gets better somehow. I don't even understand if he can get better, but he does get better. But what's going to let this team down is goaltending in the playoffs. I assure you that there's no way Stuart Skinner or Jack Campbell is taking them anywhere.
If they haven't already, I think that they're going to set a record this year for most games lost when scoring 5 goals. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. I think they lost 6 of 9 games that I had seen.
Well, and those are games too where they're up like 3-0 sometimes too. Or they're down 3-0 and they come back.
Yeah.
But goaltending, we know it's huge. Getting Ekholm, but they got Ekholm, but they traded Tyson Barrie, or it's like, and this is the guy that's like second on power play scoring on their team. So it's like, yeah, you got Ekholm, but you got rid of one of your best defensemen. So like, to me, that wasn't that big of an upgrade.
Yeah.
But real quick, I want to talk about Bedard. And what's the Bedard sweepstakes that are going on. He's got what he's doing right now. Is absolutely ridiculous. His numbers are better than McDavid's were in his final draft year.
Mm-hmm. This
is a guy that's got 52 games played, 63 goals, 66 assists, 129 points in 52 games. It's unbelievable what he's doing. Whoever gets this guy, he is a generational talent, and whoever gets him, they'll be good in 3 years.
So now, I mean, I say this slightly because you're only a point out from this, but like really, I only look at the top 5 as the teams that are going to get the opportunity to do anything here. Of those top 5 teams, so we got Columbus, San Jose, Chicago, Anaheim, and Philadelphia. Who would you be? Obviously your team's number 6 here, but who would you be happy seeing Bedard go to?
Give me the teams again, sorry.
Columbus, San Jose, Chicago, Anaheim, and Philly.
Anaheim.
That's exactly where I thought too.
Anaheim's got a great core there, and they still have a good young goaltender. You put him with Trevor Zegras and Troy Terry.
Yeah.
Don Gibson's a great goalie. I would like to see him there.
Yeah, right? It'd be fun for Chicago because it's an original 6 team with Bedard wearing the crest. I think would look great, and it'd be a quick redemption story. I think for Chicago, they've had a lot of black.
But they're not even in a rebuild right now. They're like supposed to be in a rebuild, and they're not. So
that's right. They got that black cloud hanging over them for the last little bit, and then they got the draft capital now to maybe make some moves there. Philly, I think that for some reason the Bedard name looks great on that black nameplate of those stupid jerseys they have. I don't know why that black nameplate is there, but I think that it would actually look good saying Bedard. That being said, that being said, I absolutely hate Philadelphia, so I don't want him to
I
get
hate
go there.
Philadelphia too. So I think Anaheim, but I would love to
is
see him
great.
on Montreal. Montreal,
Well,
where
yeah, I mean,
he
yeah,
needs to be.
Montreal would be great. That they would need a redemption. That's a great redemption. So speaking of Montreal, Slavkovsky is just going to write his high school exams. He flew back home to write his high school exams for the weekend. I don't know if you saw that or not, but that was pretty funny.
I did not see that. But talk about the Ducks real quick, though. I don't know if you know, one of the biggest disappointments with the Ducks in my life was when they switched the amazing logo from the Mighty Ducks to the D. Right now, they wear the Mighty Ducks logo as much as they can. So I don't know why you even switched it in the first place. But what Jen pointed out the other night is that if you actually look at the D of the duck symbol, it is literally a duck print, which I never realized. I never realized that the whole time that it was a duck print. So it makes a little bit more sense now. But I guarantee you, if Connor Bedard goes there, they will be going back to the old Mighty Ducks uniforms full time, and Paul Correa will become the coach. But
having Bedard with Zagreus now. I was talking to our boy Cody. He does not like.
Every goal the guy scores is incredible.
Yeah, where he does not like him. He thinks that he's a bit of an ass. He only got 20 goals.
Well, it's funny because he plays just like him.
I was like, that's so crazy. You know, with this guy who's like this type of player. But they got this defenseman too, Pavel Mintyukov. I don't know if you've seen this guy or not. This guy's on pace. Yeah, he's on pace for like 110 points as a defenseman, like in the O. Man, this team is going to have firepower when these players get to the league, and it's just going to be fun again for the West. But I think Bedard would be a great spot.
You just ended it perfectly. I'm going to end hockey on this. Do you want to talk about firepower? So I looked up Wayne Gretzky's Adams stats the other day, and that was when he was 10 years old playing 12-year-olds. So his first year at 62 games, he scored 104 goals and 63 assists when he was 10. Okay. His second season, when he was 11, playing 13-year-olds, he played 76 games. He scored 196 goals and 120 assists, 316 points in 76 games. Well, just wait, it gets better. When he was 12, playing 15-year-olds, he played 85 games. He scored 378 goals. Let me just say that again. 378 goals in 85 games, 139 assists. Wayne Gretzky had 517 points in 85 games when he was 12 playing 15-year-olds. So you want to talk about some fucking firepower? That's some fucking firepower.
It sounds like when you're reading off Derrick Henry's high school rushing numbers.
Pretty much the same type of. But to think that a guy scored 378 goals in 85 games, that's like 3 goals a game.
Yeah, that's wild.
4 goals a game. So we'll end NHL on that. We got a good stretch coming down. We'll join you next week, and we will recap kind of what's going on there. We've talked a lot, so we don't have a ton of time, but we got to jump in to NBA real quick. I just want to talk about the Raptors real quick and where they're sitting at the 9 spot. They're in the play-in. They looked like they were showing a ton of promise there, and then they went on this road trip, and they, unfortunately had some bad refereeing, and brings me to tonight. Ben Taylor is the referee. Fred VanVleet had 8 technicals this year. 5 of them have been from him. I've never heard Fred VanVleet go off the way he did. $30,000 fine for him for that. And now he's reffing him tonight again. Every game for the Raptors is so important right now. So anytime this guy's reffing, I'm pretty worried at this point.
Yeah, I've been a fan of the refs so far this year as a Celtics fan. We've had some pretty good ones, but you're right. Fred VanVleet is a not an angry guy. Like, he's not a guy that talks back. He's not a trash talker. To even know that he has 8 technicals was pretty high. But 5 of them come from one guy. You got to start thinking of what the hell.
Well, and it was like a South Park episode. They were bleeping him out like every 2 seconds. It was like, I've never heard him swear so much in my life. Obviously, this goes back to a long thing that's been happening to the Raptors long before Fred VanVleet was even there. The refs have never been good to the Raptors, and that's not just because I'm biased. I remember a time in the conference finals against LeBron when he played for Cleveland that they had 21 fouls called already, and the Raptors hadn't had 1 free throw in the second half yet. So this is a thing. It is a real deal. Like, this does happen to the Raptors. Either way, I'm super impressed with Siakam. Maybe not the last few games, but he has been super impressive for us. Chris Boucher, bonjour. He has been killing it. I've been calling this guy since day one. He's doing so well for us. Gary Trent Jr., shout out. He's doing good. I think anybody that has to play the Raptors in the first round, I was going to give them a good go. I just hope we don't have to play Milwaukee. I'd love to play the Celtics first round. I think we'd have a good chance against them.
Oh
I'm trying to
my
make you laugh.
god, man! Yeah, well, you certainly did it. Like this is like it was funny. There was a video that went around with interview with John Morant. I'm not want to talk about any of his shit he's dealing with, but there was a video.
Well, I was going to
where
bring that up, but I saw false things. When at first I thought he was released, and I was like, come on, you can't release him. So that was obviously false. Now, was it 8 games he's got?
8 games, yeah, he gets to come back against Dallas. But no, the video that I saw was asking him about, if he's worried about anybody in the West, and he's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good in the West. I'm good in the West. And now it's like the West really stacked up. And don't get me wrong, there's some good East players here. Philadelphia is really kind of finding a groove, and of course Milwaukee's all really, really good. But when it comes down to depth and leadership and the coaching, like I am not worried with my boys, man.
Well, it's your time. I feel like it's your time. I think the Celtics have been building up to this for a while now. It's going to be a great conference final between you and Milwaukee because we all know that's what it's going to come down to.
So who is your MVP pick? Because this is obviously the
that brings me to my
argument.
next topic. Oh my God, I wasn't even going to fucking bring this up until you brought it up. Okay, let's talk about MVP because this is absolutely ridiculous that Jokic is still lined up to win another MVP. This guy has won nothing in his entire career, nothing. And when I watched him play against the Raptors a couple weeks ago, a week and a half or so ago, he is good, but he's not that good, okay? Like, I don't give a shit what his numbers are. I don't give a shit. I watched this guy play, and if he wins 3 MVPs in 4 years, I will lose my fucking mind because he should not win another one. Until you do something, I don't care what you do. When he didn't have Jamal Murray in the playoffs last year, he did nothing. Against the Raptors, he looked like a monkey fumbling a football. I don't even know how the hell this guy, Giannis is definitely the MVP. There is no doubt about it that Giannis is the MVP this year. No doubt about it. Again.
Okay.
I understand Jason Tatum. Yes, the guy is phenomenal.
I wasn't even going to say Tatum. I like that you like. I appreciate you have Tatum on your mind. My pick, as much as I fucking hate saying this, it's Embiid. It really is. I don't believe in the process. I love making fun of the process here, but this is a guy who is consistently putting up against playoff teams. He's not.
Well, Steve's watching right now. He's gonna love you. You're gonna get a big kiss on the cheek because we had a big debate on this the other night.
Who did?
And Steve.
Oh yeah.
He's a Phillies fan, right? A 76ers fan. So my argument with Embiid is that I do not like the way he carries himself. I don't like the way. It doesn't go his way. He looks like a baby still. Yeah. Giannis, there is never a bad look on this guy's face. He is playing almost 8 minutes less a game than Embiid. This guy's playing 36 minutes a game, and he's still at the top of everything. They don't have another superstar on the team other than Chris Middleton, which is not a superstar. We know he's not. He may get paid like one, but that is not a superstar. They have one guy on that team. They won the championship the right way the first time, and they're on pace to do it again. And it's because of Giannis, and the guy's not even playing the full game. The guy is unreal. He gets better every year, and I hate to say it because I don't want to say he's the best, but as far as I'm concerned, there is nobody else in the league right now that's more important to their team than Giannis.
Well, I mean, I'm still okay. So yes, they don't have any other superstars, but depth-wise, this is what I just talked about, the depth that the Celtics have. This team is like the deepest fucking team ever. Listen to these names, man. You got Holiday, Portis, Grayson Allen. You got Jay Crowder, who came to the team late, right? Serge Ibaka. Yeah. This is a team that just, again, for the playoffs, they're just defensively going to be strong. They're built in the right way.
They're great, but I'm just saying
but they don't have any superstars besides Giannis.
But that's what allows him to only play 36 minutes a game is because they are deep. But this is a bunch of people that were calling for Mark Budenholzer to be fired after they lost to the Raptors.
Well, Giannis is playing 33. He's not even playing 36. He's playing 32 and point.
Well, there you go. So it's dropped either way. But
Embiid is playing 35, so he's playing about 3 minutes more than Giannis. But Giannis is even playing less and putting up relatively the same numbers.
Yeah. And for me, when the Raptors were down 2-0 in 19 to the Bucks, right, when we won 4 straight against the Bucks. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I will say that was the biggest accomplishment that we had in that whole playoff run. Was being, people don't remember, we were down 2-0 and in double overtime in Game 3.
Yeah,
and we won, and then we won 3 straight after that. I watched them play. People wanted Mike Budenholzer to be fired after that series. They kept him. They won with him. The guy's obviously a great coach. He's a lot like a Nick Nurse to me. He's great at putting rotations together. And that leads me to my other thing. The Raptors are the 3rd most starting lineups in the fucking league this year. They have the third most starting lineups, most injuries, most like third most. So like I think there's like 40 starting lineups in the Raptors have had this year with different players all the time. So once again, it shows coaching does matter. I feel like Budenholzer is a lot like Nick Nurse, but like I said, I'm looking forward mostly to a Celtics and Bucks series. I think it's going to be great because the Eastern Conference is amazing, and it's the same thing as well. Western Conference in basketball used to be so good compared to the East.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of flipped that way as well. Talking about Kevin Durant in the West, another guy. What we played? What do we play? 2.5 minutes to get hurt again, or?
I don't even know. He get hurt. In the warm up, he got hurt when he tweaked his ankle.
And it's too bad too because Devin Booker was playing so good with him, like going off. But this just shows you don't invest in this guy. He's going to get hurt, and then Chris Paul will get hurt, and then poor old Devin Booker will be out there all on himself doing nothing. I want to end basketball real quick with a couple things. We'll talk about load management real quick. I don't know if you saw recently, but they just came out recently that if you don't play at least 55 games or something, you can't be eligible for MVP awards or any individual accolades.
Yeah.
You know what I have to say to that, Kaylin? Who gives a fuck? Do you think these motherfuckers care about winning an award? Come on, this is no way to penalize them. Kobe said it the best. I wish we had the clip to show, but Kobe said this was about 6 years ago, and this was when load management first started happening. And they asked Kobe about it, and Kobe said, "You know what? The fans out there pay good money to come here and see the best players in the world play. I don't care if I'm going to make the playoffs. I don't care if I'm hurt. I don't care if I played the night before. It's my obligation and it's our obligation as players to perform every night for these fans that pay the money to come see us. Not just because you're 27 years old and you're in the best shape of your life and you can't play 2 games in a row. Give me a fucking break. It's a joke. That should not fucking happen. Back in Michael Jordan's day, there was no load management. Okay, there was no load management. And that leads me to my next topic I will end on NBA with, because Dennis Rodman, you know what, I hope Steve's listening, because you know what, we'll always go back and forth with LeBron and Michael. But when it comes down to it, Rodman said, he's like, you know what, he's going to talk about LeBron. He's like, he's got no moves. Okay, he's like, if Scottie Pippen didn't shut this guy down, then I definitely would have when he got by him. He's like, you want to talk about Kevin Durant? You want to talk about LeBron James? He's like, these are big, tall guys that have a good shot and have a way to use their body, but they have no moves. Show me a time that LeBron or Durant has done anything other than a crossover or a step back jumper. He's like, we would shut them down so bad they wouldn't even know what hit them. So,
I thought you were going to end on when you talk about Jordan there, how he's in talks to sell his stake in the Hornets.
Well, about time. The guy, you're a good player, Jordan, but not so good in the front office, baby.
Can't build a team at all.
But yeah, we've talked a lot here. We got to talk real quick about NFL. The couple big ones. Obviously, I got my Raiders shirt on, so I'll jump right into my Raiders. We lost Derek Carr. It's about 10 years with Derek Carr. A lot of people ask me how you feel about it. It's time to go, baby. It was time to go. We haven't done anything with him. And when it comes down to it, people can say that Jimmy Garoppolo is not an upgrade on Derek Carr. Well, look at his playoff record, look at his completion percentage, and look at his interception to touchdown ratio. And as far as I'm concerned, he is an upgrade, especially with Josh McDaniels there. I think it's an upgrade. What do you think?
I think that your short game will be awesome. I think that what I was reading.
Well, you'd be surprised to hear that his yards per completion is higher than Derek Carr's.
No, it is. But with the his passer rating in the intermediate to short to intermediate was actually passer rating was higher than Derek Carr's was, and it was it was of the Raiders of the plays that the analytic people, whatever they looked at are. Their short to intermediate were their least effective of all their offensively called plays, and that's where Jimmy Garoppolo has been most effective. And I think that the players that you have on your team, players like Hunter Renfrow, who completely, not just because of injury, but it seems like he just could not find a role in the team last year, but players like Devontae Adams, and I feel that you could do better with Jimmy Garoppolo. I still don't think.
Stay healthy.
I just think it's a side grade, unfortunately. Like it's just this.
No, it is. But the thing is, the other option was Aaron Rodgers. So, I was so bitter about that because I hate Aaron Rodgers. Everyone knows I can't stand the guy. So it would have been very bittersweet to have him come to the Raiders. I didn't want it. I'm glad it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we got Jimmy for 3 years, $67 million, as opposed to giving Aaron Rodgers all the money he wanted.
Well, it
Like I
would have
said,
been. That we always talk about. We're going to always talk about what ifs and everything, right? But I tell you, man, if the Raiders had the money, if they had the money, my man, I think they would have been one of the teams that would have been willing to put an offer in on Lamar. I really do think that they
we
would
have
have.
the money. We have like the third most cap in the league.
Well, do you have the draft picks? Is that what the problem is?
No, it's just the fact that we don't want a
What
black quarterback that's
do you
going to
have?
get hurt.
Do you have first round picks though?
I don't know what we got. All I know is that Lamar
Because if
Jackson's
you
a
sign
wild
him,
card.
you'd
Lamar
say,
Jackson's a huge wild card, and I wouldn't want to mess with that. I'm happy with Jimmy. I think that I think we can make the playoffs with Jimmy this year if we just rely on Josh Jacobs, the leading rusher this year. Thank you very much. That would be fantastic. Would we keep him? We got Jacoby Myers. I like that pickup. That's a 900 receiver back-to-back years in a Josh McDaniels system. So I'll take that. But we'll talk about Rodgers real quick before we move along because a lot of people now are feeling sorry for Aaron Rodgers because he came out in his Oprah Winfrey interview yesterday and just bared all because that's pretty much what it felt like to me was an Oprah Winfrey interview. Steve's talking to me about it. And he's like, I feel bad for him. Fuck this guy. He wants to talk about how the Green Bay jerked him around, this and that. That's the same thing that happened with Brett Favre. That's the way Green Bay works. You can't expect to be put on a pedestal. When you get over 35, unless you're Tom Brady, your job ain't safe. And as far as I'm concerned, you just kind of do your own thing. You lied about whether you got vaccinated for COVID. You lied about this. You lied about that. I hope he goes to New York and just fails miserably. But that's just the way I feel about it.
Well, I mean, I think there is something to be said about the fact that last year one of his big gripes was how you treat the older players on the way out the door, and the year later that it is him kind of being treated the same way that he was.
Oh, you didn't see it coming?
Everybody else. Well,
you watched it happen to Brett Favre, you idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you should have known it was coming. They did the same thing to Brett Favre 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Or fucking 12 years ago. Same thing they did. Exact same thing. They drafted Aaron Rodgers behind Brett Favre and let him sit there and said to Brett Favre, take your time, take your time. A week later, you better let us know soon. Better let us know soon. It's the same thing they did to Brett Favre. Exact same thing. So it should be no surprise to him. But as far as I'm concerned, I hope to God he does go to the Jets and he has to play against Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard 2 times a year because good luck with that.
Well, listen, if Mike White can look decent, if Zach Wilson...
Well, Jalen Ramsey just went there. That's going to be a sick quarter tandem.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey is probably the best corner duo in the league.
And
right
Buffalo,
now.
you got to play twice a year. These are all outdoor games except for the Miami one.
Oh,
Either way, I just him coming out and trying to play the victim, even though he's not actually playing. He knows what he's doing. Come on, this guy he thinks he's smarter than everybody. So I just hope it doesn't work out for him. That's where quarterbacks go to die. Do you realize that a quarterback hasn't had a 4,000-yard season in New York since Joe Namath?
No, that's a lot of time, man.
Joe Namath is the last New York Jets quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards.
That's crazy.
And that was in like 1972.
I think even Tanny's thrown for 4,000.
Quarterbacks didn't even throw the ball.
With Tennessee,
so that's the big one there. I want to just mention real quick UFC. We have the UFC rematch this weekend of Usman and Edwards in London, England. It's a big one. For all the people that don't remember, Usman pretty much ruled the welterweight division since George St. Pierre left. This guy was on a tear. He was up 4 rounds to none against Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards caught him with a head kick around the world. He knocked him out cold. Usman says it'll never happen again. I seen Edwards. He looked jacked for this fight. That was the one thing people said about him. He wasn't big enough for Usman. He looks just as good as him now. And, the biggest question is when a champion like Usman gets knocked out like that savagely, are they ever the same again? Right? Like, can they ever actually recover the way they say they can mentally, but physically, can you actually get back there? Or are you just going to get knocked out again? I think that the fact that Usman dominated that fight so much leads me to believe that he should be able to do that again. But, the X factor is when you get knocked out, are you going to be the same?
Yeah, like if you get your bell rung, don't get me wrong. I
you
think
can
get your bell rung, and I think you can come back. But I think that when you get to a certain level and you get your bell rung, I don't know if there's a way to come back from that. Like,
no, exactly. Well, and that's the thing, right? Well, just John Jones, he fought last weekend for the first time. in like 3 years. Fought against Cyril Gahn, a guy that was looking like a Terminator, and John Jones finished him in 2 minutes. Okay, this is a guy that is the best ever. All the tests permitted, and this is a guy that's never had his bell rung, right? That's the key. It's never getting your bell rung. George St. Pierre, he got knocked out early by Matt Serra, but for the most part, he never really got his bell rung. Once you get knocked the fuck out, you're never the same. Nobody ever is the same again. So it'd be really curious to see how Usman looks against Edwards this weekend. Real quick, Jake Paul trying to manifest a fight with Floyd Mayweather. I said he's going to put Tommy Fury on the back burner. Floyd Mayweather's entourage pulled up to him after a Miami Heat game, and they tried to beat the shit out of him. We learned that not only is Jake Paul a good boxer, he is a good sprinter as well, because he ran very fast away from that altercation, as he should have. But Jake Paul, Floyd Mayweather fight, does anybody want to see it? I could care less about it, but, that's what people are going to talk about. And let's go soccer real quick. Lionel Messi, Saudi Arabia, Live Tour, golf, all that. They are throwing the money. They just offered him $198 million a year to go play in a Saudi tour. This is a guy that's obviously still really good. It's either 198 or 168 million. I can't remember, but if you look it up, it is apparently a Saudi Arabia offer for so much money.
That's what Ronaldo, is it the same? It's not the same team, is it? Because Ronaldo's getting $200 million a year. And he went to the Saudi.
So probably almost the same thing.
Yeah. Well, that's just insane, man. These soccer players just get paid. Like PSG, though, they'll probably do a little something there. They got deep pockets, too. Well, Rick, that was a lot of sports to talk about, my man. You got anything left for me or what?
Hey, man, the Masters are coming up. Tiger Woods, baby. We got about 3 weeks away from Masters, and that's why I'm looking forward to it at this point. But we'll get you next week. We'll cover and recap everything we talked about this week. But it's been fun to get back at it, baby.
Devils tied it up. Tatar got the game tying goal here. So I know you've been loving that boy lately. He's having a resurgence.
Oh, yeah. We didn't touch on that. The guy's leading the league in plus minus. The guy couldn't catch a cold when he was with us. And now he's leading the league in plus minus. But the next time I expect you to have your chest painted like putty, and then, we should be good to go.
All right, my man. All right, Rick, as always, pleasure talking with you, brother. You have yourself a great night.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.